Hey everyone. Alright, in today's video we're going to go over how to change your power steering pump. I'm going to be doing it in my 2002 Lexus is300, but you can do it in any other car really. My car has the 2JZ motor, so especially if you have the same engine, it's going to apply to your car as well. I know these engines came with the SC300s, the Supras, a few other cars out there probably, but the same concepts apply to any other car honestly. So here in the video you can hear all the squeaking. So originally I'm going to be changing the belt because I believe that my bearing in my power steering pump is going bad. So hopefully when I replace this, it's going to fix that noise. At least I'm hoping so. My other culprit is the serpentine belt, but I'm trying one thing at a time. So let's see what we got here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take off the serpentine belt. And to do that, it's pretty simple. You just get a 14mm socket or wrench and put it on the tensioner and twist it to the right, which is then just going to loosen the belt, and you can just slide it off with your finger. You can do it on your own, but having someone else there is always helpful. So here you can see I turned it to the right. I actually had someone else come in and pull it off while I was holding it because mine required two hands. I didn't have the proper tooling. So the next thing you're going to want to do is drain all of the power steering fluid. So I had a little syringe type thing, and I just sucked all of it out. Make sure you don't just dump it in your neighbor's lawn. So there's gonna be a hose right there, and it's pretty easy to remove. You just need pliers, and you can just grab that metal clip there and just pull it back, and that'll allow you to remove the hose. There is gonna be some extra fluid in the lines or hoses, so just make sure you capture all that. Just get a water bottle and drain it in there. So the next thing is going to be to remove the bolts that hold the power steering pump to your engine bay. So there's two bolts holding it from the bottom, and they're directly behind the pulley. So here, I was trying to get it out. I dropped my wrench and down into the engine bay. But luckily, if you don't have one of these, it's a lifesaver, man. Look at this thing. Fell in the engine bay. Oof, snagged it right up. So right behind that pulley is a bolt, and it should be a 14 or 12mm. You can just use a socket. I broke one of mine on these. So here I was able to loosen it and get that bolt out. And then there's gonna be another line on the bottom of that power steering pump, and that's just the return line. So I couldn't reach it. So what I did was I took that bolt out and then I twisted this whole thing to the left. So it's easier to get a wrench on that bolt and twist it. So I was able to get to it and break it loose eventually. And here I realized I was making a mess, so I should probably put something underneath to catch all the excess fluid. So once you get those two bolts behind the pulley, you should be able to just wiggle that thing right out of there. And to take off the reservoir, there's going to be 3 bolts, 2 on the back here, and then 1 right behind the pulley. So we're going to be breaking them loose now. Break it loose, and then eventually that thing will come right off. There's probably a better method for it, but I just put it on the ground and just went at it. So taking the pulley off is a bit trickier. I just put a heavy-duty screwdriver right through the pulley just to hold the pulley in place, and then I just cranked at it while it was held in a vice grip. So since we took those bolts out earlier for the reservoir, here we can just take it right off. I waited till now because there might be some leftover fluid in there, but in this case it wasn't too bad. And now we can pop it right back on the new one. Put the new bolts back on. Man, does this new pump look good. Nice and shiny. And I recommend spraying down your pulley with some brake cleaner fluid, and I just did it to get some of the grease off. I know I probably got some power steering fluid on there, so I just want to clean it up. Make sure just to avoid some potential belt squeak once we install it back on. So now we can go ahead and put the new pump back on. And the first thing I recommend installing back is the return hose, since that thing is more flexible. And make sure there's an O-ring on there. So my new pump came with an O-ring. But if you don't have a new one, or you're reusing your old one or cleaning up, or for whatever reason, make sure you have the O-ring back on there, or else it could leak. And then here I had a second hand, so I had someone pry the tensioner to the right, giving me some room to put the belt back on, and then they can just slowly release it. It's pretty straightforward since we didn't take the belt completely off, or else it'd be more of a pain. Go ahead and fill the power steering pump back up with fluid, and then start your car and let it run for a little bit. It's most likely going to make some whining noises, which is totally fine. You're going to want to turn it back and forth to get some of the air bubbles out, make sure the new fluid runs through the system, and you should be good to go.